right, it's about a minute after 10:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kathy Grundling. I'm the Executive Associate Dean for Faculty Affairs and Professional Development at Emory. But my role today, I'm here today as co-lead of the Collaboration and Multidisciplinary Team Science part of the CTSA. And as it sounds like, we are here to help promote collaborations. So we've been doing Blue Sky groups for many years now. These are unstructured meetings where all of you will have a role to play. We'll ask you to tell us about your research and what you might be looking for in a collaboration. We are lucky today to have Jessica Alvarez, who's associate professor in the Division of Endocrinology, Metabolism, and Lipids in the Department of Medicine at Emory. Her research has focused for many years on the role of nutrition and body composition on metabolism in chronic diseases, especially cystic fibrosis, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and chronic kidney disease. So she is a true expert in nutrition, and she'll help us just start out by thinking about where nutrition is going, where the funding opportunities may be, and then we'll ask each of you to tell us a little bit about your research and how you might contribute to the discussion of what are the burning issues in the area, what are the funding opportunities, and what are our collaborative research opportunities. So we hope you have fun. These are usually fun meetings. And I do want to tell you about one more opportunity before we end. So if in the course of the meeting today, you meet a future collaborator, you need a little bit of money to get your collaboration moving. We do have small grants, about $1,500 to support that nascent collaboration. So keep that in mind. And with that, I will turn it over to Jessica, and we'll jump into talking about nutrition. Jessica.
Hey, everyone. Thank you guys so much for inviting me to do this. Let me see if I can figure out how to share my slides because I've forgotten how to do that. Okay. Sorry, presentation mode first. Okay, well, you guys might just have to watch my, can you see the screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
There we go.
Okay.
If you just click on, yeah, that should do it.
What are you guys seeing now?
Switch to presenter mode.
Sorry, you'd think that I would know how to do this by this point.
Just switch your display settings where you were a second ago, where your mouse was a second ago up top. Yep. Yep, swap. There you go. You're good.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry. Okay, so Kathy and Lauren asked me to do this, and I wanted to keep it pretty informal and just sort of wanted to give a broad overview of where I think we are in nutrition and sort of get us on a level playing field, sort of. And I told Kathy and Lauren that this is sort of my stream of consciousness type stuff. So there's only one figure of food. If I should have put more figures, but anyway, so just wanted to think about, and I would, if you guys want to start putting things in the chat, that's also absolutely okay. But where the needs are for nutrition research, current trends as I see it for nutrition research. Granted, I've been pretty focused over my career, so you guys will probably have a lot of other ideas here. Funding opportunities, including places you might not have thought about before, like beyond NIH, and then maybe this is more in the discussion part, but like just thinking about what other resources are on campus and different groups around campus that I think is important to think about as we try to develop collaborations. So I think right now the number one need for nutrition research, in my eyes, has been, and it has ongoingly been, obesity and the related chronic diseases. And I'm sure I've missed about 20 other different obesity related chronic diseases, but some of them are listed here. And I think you guys, I saw the list of people who had signed up. A lot of you guys kind of fit into this area: cancer, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, MASLD, our cardiovascular diseases, stroke, chronic kidney disease, asthma that I can't spell, osteoarthritis, and sleep apnea, just to name a few. But not only that, thinking about obesity, which we've all, from childhood to adulthood has been an issue, but now we're dealing with a really growing aging population. And so with a growing aging population, we have increased disease burden. So it's not just getting older, but it's getting older in this obesogenic environment that we've all been exposed to. But also thinking about other things such as sarcopenia, so that's muscle loss, frailty, osteoporosis, bone loss. These are issues that are happening right now as we speak, and some of us could probably speak to them personally. Huge trend right now is in women's health. We're seeing a lot more people and women discussing perimenopause and how to navigate menopause. How do we manage symptoms, and can diet, can nutrition research help with that? Again, with menopause, we see major issues in bone loss, osteoporosis. And then Obesity Week actually was in Atlanta this last week, and the rise of GLP-1 receptor agonists, that is 100% all the rage right now. With such a rise in GLP-1 agonists, you would think obesity was completely cured. It's not, obviously, but things to think about as more and more people get on these medications is the rapid weight loss that also leads to muscle loss. But also these medications are, it's a long-term thing. It's not just a quick fix. There is heavy weight regain, and what happens with that weight regain when you get off the medicine. So thinking about maintenance dosing for GLP-1 receptor agonists. These are topics that people are studying right now, and it needs to be studied. But on top of that, these GLP-1 receptor agonists they're not a quick fix. And there's a real need for lifestyle interventions and implementation strategies to hopefully one day get folks off of the GLP-1 receptor agonist so that they don't need it. And I mentioned this, so I mentioned, well, obesity's done, we've cured it, everything, but we really haven't. So as Kathy mentioned, I study cystic fibrosis. I also study HIV, and there are these pockets, these diseases that are not necessarily, we wouldn't have thought for them to be obesity related at all. And like for cystic fibrosis, it was completely unheard of 20 years ago that someone would have obesity. So these are other areas of, if you guys are studying specific chronic diseases, to think about like populations that are not even eligible for GLP-1 receptor agonists or some of these game-changing weight loss drugs. HIV is another one. These are all areas being studied, but I think it's slower to get into some of the other disease states aside from the general population. Something that, we all eat and we all drink water, right? But we really have to think about what is in our food and water system. And so things such as the pesticides, which we use, even organic foods have pesticides, or what are these doing to our cells? What is happening here? We've started to hear a lot about microplastics, and Doug Walker on campus is starting to look at this a lot. And then other things like the plasticizers, the PFAS. These are highly ubiquitous in our water and food system. And we need more research to know what is, number one, what it's doing to our biology, but number two, how can we mitigate some of the negative effects that some of these pesticides and everything have. And then I don't know why that just popped up, but ultra processed foods. This is a hot topic in when we think about the current administration and some of their priorities. I think the thought is that they're not off track when we're concerned about ultra processed foods. This is a real issue. And what are, why are ultra processed foods so bad for us? Why do we eat them so much? How can we get away from them? It's a big issue. So this one I kind of struggled with. I'm sorry that we got something random CF highlight note there, but I still wanted to put it up there because it was a fantastic strategic plan for NIH nutrition research. It was put together in 2020. It's supposed to go to 2030. We're just going to continue keep moving forward with some of these, but there was a real push in 2020, and this was put forth by Francis Collins on precision nutrition, which is where I think you guys can agree where we've seen everything going. So, there was real focus on spurring innovation through foundational research. By foundational research, they meant basic science, just really, really, what is happening in the cells, investigating the role of dietary patterns and behaviors for optimal health. And key there is dietary patterns. We sometimes, for a long time, we were so focused on individual micronutrients and macronutrients, and we still are. You can still see people really fixating on one specific nutrient, but we don't only eat one nutrient at a time. What is the role of healthy dietary patterns overall, diet quality, and how can we get our patients and the public to adopt healthy behaviors that influence optimal health here? I kind of mentioned this already on the aging population, but defining the role of nutrition across the lifespan, and then reducing the burden of disease in clinical settings, which I kind of mentioned again, thinking about cystic fibrosis and just non-general population clinical settings. The term food as medicine comes up a lot recently, and I think there's something to it. In the midst of all these, focusing on, what are the communities that need the most health of women, which I mentioned, always with rigor and reproducibility, and then data science. This is huge when we're thinking about precision nutrition. How can we use different data sciences and AI to help with this? And then again, training the scientific workforce. This one's important too. Okay, so just a couple trends, I guess, in nutrition. So I mentioned precision nutrition. And so this is individual responses to diet. This can include any of the omics, metabolomics, genomics, proteomics, glycomics, and a really big one right now that has been growing and growing and growing has been the role of the microbiome in mediating different disease states or different conditions. But really, when I think of nutrition and the microbiome, to me, it always starts with what is going in our systems, and how does that influence the microbiome, and then how does that influence outcomes? Another major trend, and I think this is another big push in the current administration, is the use of wearables. So things such as continuous glucose monitoring and how we can use that to help optimize health outcomes. I don't think the research, we can talk to our diabetes specialists now, the research is probably not there for the general population, although many people in the general population have been starting to use these. Likewise, thinking about activity monitors, everyone's wearing Fitbits. So how can we use all of this knowledge that people are wearing to predict outcomes, to perform interventions, to design interventions? And this all goes into part of precision nutrition. And then I mentioned the dietary patterns. So I won't talk too much, but I guess my soapbox is to make sure for dietary patterns is, how do we design culturally appropriate interventions? Not everybody wants to eat the Mediterranean diet, which is absolutely delicious, but how can, what are the major factors in these dietary patterns that lead to healthy outcomes, and how can we make them culturally appropriate? Okay, so thinking about funding opportunities, you know, as always, there's the NIH, and NIH, they'll fund R01s, R03s, and some of the major players when you're thinking about nutrition and obesity research are NIDDK, NHLBI, NCI. You guys can probably drop it in the box, some of your other favorite. I know the Nursing Institute also has a lot of funding in nutrition. These are just some ones that I'm more familiar with. But then also thinking about the US, maybe not now, USDA was also a major funder in nutrition research that I think a lot of people kind of forgot was there, aside from NIH. And then thinking about the Department of Defense, if you know, a lot of our military, there's a lot of research, you know, how do we feed our military? So these are just different things outside of NIH that you can look into. Right now, I can't tell you what opportunities are available today in some of these, but it's worth looking for. And then thinking about, you know, these GLP-1 receptor agonists and all of these obesity medicines, Novo Nordisk, Eli Lilly, Pfizer, Amgen. So there's pharmaceutical funding. Those are other opportunities sometimes that come up. But really, one of the ones that I wanted to that if you're not a registered dietitian or directly in nutrition research, you might not know that these are out here. So food industry funds a lot, and they're not huge grants, but things such as the National Pork Board, the Haas Avocado Board, there's a Blueberry Council, the California Walnut Commission. I've seen a lot of funding come through from the Egg Foundation or the Egg Board. I think someone told me there was a study on, or just a call for mangoes, the Mango Association. So thinking sort of outside of the box on just different study designs and looking for it and looking out for those opportunities. Obviously, there's risks with being associated with an industry. So making sure to, you know, talk to the program officer of whatever, the National Pork Board, make sure you can publish whatever you want based on this research, so that there's not so much appearance of bias. But these are great sources of funding that are not NIH. Okay, so that was it for my slides. But I did want to sort of throw a couple of things that didn't actually make it to this is, you know, thinking about when we think about what I feel like we need here at Emory are like P30 grants, so these big collaborative grants. There's the Nutrition Obesity Research Centers, and there's usually a call for those every few years. I don't think anything's open right now. We would have to kick someone off. Like UAB has a nutrition, or the NORC, they call it the NORCs, the Nutrition Obesity Research Center. I know Tom Ziegler and several others have tried to put together NORCs, but you know, if we have a strong enough group here at Emory and within the Georgia CTSA, I think it would be doable. And then thinking about opportunities across campus is hopefully you guys all know we do have a very strong nutrition health PhD program and a lot of faculty dedicated to nutrition in it. So I really encourage you guys to look to the nutrition health faculty, nutrition health sciences PhD program and their faculty members, because they're just a wealth of information there. Winship has a lot of nutrition researchers. The Global Diabetes Research Center has a lot of amazing researchers. So just some resources for nutrition research there. But that is all I have for you for slides, and we can take it away anywhere.
Great, that's a great introduction. Thank you. It's a lot to think about. any of our folks who are here from UGA or Georgia Tech or Morehouse, if you have resources similar to what Jessica referred to, go ahead and put those in the chat. I see a couple of NIH institutes were also entered in the chat. Thank you guys for that. So now we're going to switch to part 2 of this, which is we want to hear from you about what you're doing, maybe where you see opportunities to collaborate. I'm just going to call on you in the order you appear on my screen. So just when you unmute, tell us your name, your institution, and what your area of research is compared to in the field of nutrition. You can also tell us if you have an idea or are looking for a collaborator, you can tell us about that too. Feel free to use the chat freely to interact with people who say something that you're interested in. And we'll have more of a general discussion at the end. So I'm going to start with Niall.
Hi, everybody. I'm Niall McCarty. I'm the director of the CF program, and I appreciate Jessica, my good friend, mentioning CF so often. What she didn't say is that she is co-director of the Nutrition, Lifestyle, and Behaviors core of our CF P30 grant that's through the NIDDK. So those things have to be really tied together in my mind, not just nutrition, right? But nutrition and lifestyles and behavior kind of wraps it all together. I study CF-related diabetes, which is linked. But I think we really need to take that holistic view. Nutrition is a component of this, but your nutrition probably, like mine, goes up and down and up and down and up and down like that. That's why I think her comment about nutrition patterns is really kind of important. Thanks, Jessica.
Thanks, Now. Yeah, I didn't mention the P30, our CF P30. That would have been a major brag on my, but I'm glad you mentioned it. And you're right. I think some of other folks will jump in, but not just nutrition, but also exercise and some of these other things that we're not specifically focused on, but a lot of times we have to think about them hand in hand.
Oh, thank you. Jennifer?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Frediani. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Nursing. I'm a registered dietitian, PhD trained, and an exercise physiologist. Most of my research is around diabetes, cardiometabolic disease, a lot of prevention, but some management as well. And I'm really interested in kind of weight neutral approaches to these diseases, weight stigma, weight bias, and kind of bringing that in, especially in this giant world of GLP-1s. I'm currently working on expanding my horizons a little bit into AI and working on a mindful eating application that will be part in-person education, part AI bot. We're working in the School of Nursing a lot with kind of using AI as an interim in between appointments and answering questions and that kind of thing. So we're building technology around that. So I'm going to try to apply that to nutrition.
Thanks, Jennifer. Courtney.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Courtney Brown. I am at UGA. I work with UGA Extension and the UGA's Biomedical and Translational Sciences Institute. I'm the Community Health Engagement Coordinator. So I help coordinate community engaged research through UGA Extension, but primarily research that is clinical and translational research. And UGA Extension, if you're not super familiar with it, Extension is a public service arm of UGA. We have several other public service units at UGA as well. But Extension has a presence in all 159 counties in Georgia through agriculture, natural resources, 4-H youth development, and then family and consumer sciences extension, which we also sometimes call health extension. So through those programs, we deliver a lot of health education content. So we have a lot of extension specialists that do nutrition research and are professors in our nutritional sciences department. My training is also as a registered dietitian, but my research specifically focuses on community engaged research and that translational science component. So some of the research that my colleagues and I are engaged in involves the diabetes prevention program, Health Extension for Diabetes, which is a diabetes self-management program. We've got lots of programs that involve, healthy eating for low income audiences, some cancer prevention, among others. And that's just on the extension side. We also have lots of faculty that do other nutrition research in the department. And I think at least a couple of them are on today, so I'm sure they'll cover that. But yeah, I'm primarily on today just to let y'all know that Extension is a partner as part of Georgia CTSA. We're involved in the Community Engagement Corps. So we're, ready to help connect communities that have health needs with researchers that have resources that might align with those health needs so that communities and researchers can, have that mutual benefit. We've had some successes in the past, and we're trying to build on those so that we can, improve health for all Georgians, because we know it's a really big goal and we certainly can't do it alone. So if your research involves trying to reach people in areas that maybe aren't always reached, we certainly have access into all parts of the state. And while it's not always easy, we're usually willing to try and meet those communities to get them what they need. So if that's something that you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me. And I can share more about Extension and what we do, and maybe even if some of the nutrition related things I mentioned are part of what you do, we can also find ways to collaborate in those subject areas as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Courtney. The UGA Extension is a great resource. And Courtney, as you hear what people are working on, if you know someone else at UGA working on the same topic, would you drop that in the chat?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, Young Sung Lee.
Hi, I'm Jung-Sun Lee. I'm professor in the Department of Nutritional Science at UGA. I'm also a registered dietitian. My training was in community and public health nutrition research. So my research focuses on food insecurity, nutrition and food assistance programs and policies, and also community-based nutrition interventions addressing nutrition and health disparity. So there are many different type of projects I have done in the past, but we've been trying to understand what is the extent and nature of the food insecurity, what are the ways that we can address them. And one of the methodology we've been really trying to figure out is how we can establish research methodology and data sets to examine the nutritional issues in human services, including aging services, healthcare, and public assistance program. So one of the things we have been doing, really collecting all the food insecurity and related nutrition disparity issues from older Georgians who are requesting and receiving various home and community-based services across the state. And we linked their data, statewide data, with Medicare, Medicaid, and state-related administrative data sets. Things that we've been trying to build the data set that are not typically available for researchers understanding different type of programs and issues directly addressing older populations issue and on beyond. So those kind of projects that really open my eyes and looking for collaborators who would be interested in sharing what existing or administrative data, other clinical data that may be helpful for us to understand impact of various nutrition issues and potential interventions that can address them.
Thank you. Jessica, feel free to jump in at any point.
Yeah, I can imagine, Dr. Lee, that right now is a especially critical time, difficult for the data you're trying to collect.
Well, I didn't mention, but I have been leading the SNAP-Ed grant for state since 2013. And One Big Beautiful Bill Act actually completely terminate this nationwide grant program as of October. So we are phasing out the project, and it has a lot of critical implication in terms of what should be the next phase or type of national federally funded nutrition education should be. And currently, we just have such a huge gap that reach typically about 90 million low-income Americans across the state. Here in Georgia, about 5 or 6 million people who are eligible for these programs. So yes, very different and unique time. And thank you for sharing all the potential funding sources. But USD has a lot of big hole that we've been getting to reach marginalized, low income and vulnerable population here in the state and across the nation. So I'm looking for ideas, what other ways that we can continue these type of programs, intervention, and policy changes that may be helpful to address more issues with people with limited resources. But yeah.
I'm sorry for the loss of your grant. Jess.
Hi everyone, my name is Jess. I'm a postdoctoral researcher and metabolic dietitian at Emory. I actually came from University of Georgia and I see one of my PhD advisors, Dr. Yi, on here, so it's nice to see you again. I'm studying precision nutrition for inherited metabolic disorders. My postdoctoral work is looking at stable isotopes for protein needs and PKU. So one of my biggest needs for coming on here is just looking at the different resources across the CTSA for a CF IRMS. We are in need of one of those here. They're about $1 million machines, and I've been scouring all the tech websites. So if anyone on here knows about someone that has one of those, that would be awesome, or has interest in collaborating for stable isotope research. We're also looking at some GLP-1R work in our genetics patients. So that's another area of interest that I have, as well as minimizing diet variation for clinical trials in inherited metabolic disorder. So it's great to be here. And thanks, Dr. Alvarez.
Thanks. We have a very active chat going on where people are introducing themselves. You will have a chance to speak, but make sure you're monitoring the chat because there are lots of opportunities in the chat. Jeff.
Hi, I'm Jeff Boatwright. I'm a professor in ophthalmology, and I have an appointment at the Atlanta VA, and I am interested in, and we've been doing a lot of research looking at the effects of exercise on retinal degenerations and glaucoma. Most of my work at Emory is in preclinical models, mouse and rat models of age-related macular degeneration and glaucoma. And over at the VA, we've got a clinical trial going. Myself and Joe Nocera are looking at the effects of spin cycling in veterans with AMD. We previously had a pilot grant looking at the effects of spin cycling on just regular vision in very, very old veterans, like in their 90s. We actually saw some great outcomes, very surprising, which led to this larger grant. And also recently, I've become very interested in testing the effects of NAD precursors, so nicotinamide riboside, et cetera, in both our animal models. And we're writing a hopefully to be funded clinical trial over at the VA looking at the effects of NAD precursors in a veteran population. So I'm very interested to learn more in this group. Some of my very earliest funding as an assistant professor was from the old NCAM because we were looking at the effects of bile acids on retinal degeneration models. And that actually almost was the beginning of my career. So anyway, this is a really exciting group, and thank you for inviting me.
Thanks. We do have a lot of really accomplished researchers in this group watching the chat. Jessica, your thoughts about putting together a program project grant or P30? I
think we might be time. Dr. Boatwright, you mentioned NAD. This is just random. Joshua Chandler, and he's actually in our CF Center, has been asking me a lot about NAD, about that system. And I wonder if I should connect you guys, or if maybe you've already been talking to him.
Sure, I have not. I'll probably learn more from him than the other way around. But yeah, please connect us.
Yeah, happy to.
Thank you. All right, Calvin.
Oh, hi. This is Calvin Yi. You can call me Calvin. And right now I'm an associate professor in the Department of Genetics at the University of Georgia. And I worked with Jess when she was completing her PhD work here. So my research is on nutritional genetics and gene-diet interaction. I have a special interest in omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acid, and I try to study the genetic basis for omega-3 fatty acid metabolism. And we did a lot of analysis in large cohort, for example, in UK Biobank, to find genetic factors like single variant polygenic score that are able to modify the effect of omega-3 fatty acid on different health outcome. We have worked on cancer, dementia, and we were able to find various genetic factors, specific genes, and also polygenic scores. We recently developed polygenic score for omega-3 levels, and we found that for people that have low polygenic score for omega-3, they tend to have a bigger benefit from fish oil supplements. So I am looking for cohort that have omega-3, like dietary omega-3 intake of fish oil supplement, and at the same time with genetic data, so that I can replicate some of our findings in UK Biobank. So if you have that kind of cohort or interest, please let me know.
I've got a clue for you.
Awesome.
Dr. Usha Ramakrishnan might have some of that information in one of her cohorts.
Awesome. Connect me. Thank you.
Yes. She's at Emory. She's in global health here at Emory.
Thanks. That's great. Irina, I see you put something in the chat. Do you want to expand on that?
Hi all, I'm kind of multitasking and on the confocal, so I'm in a dark room. But I'll just say my name is Irina Maralda. I'm a postdoc at Emory studying mast cells and cystic fibrosis, and just really interested to kind of learn how to begin to tackle that topic. So yeah, just really hoping to learn more.
Thanks, Irina. I think so you have a specific question about macronutrients. I'll start with immunometabolism is huge. So if you can link immunometabolism with food, diet, that would be a great field of study for you. When I mentioned just the real focus on micronutrients, especially the macronutrients, it's we don't, as I mentioned, we don't just eat protein, and we don't just eat carbohydrates, and we don't just eat fats. And when we manipulate, I know there are a lot of RDs on the call, and so they know all this. If we change one thing, we have to change the other thing. So it's really hard to do these diet feeding studies, maybe easier in cells, but to figure out exactly what is causing the outcome in our intervention, whether we are increasing carbohydrates or is it because we decrease fats, or, so that's kind of where I was thinking as far as it being very difficult to study individual nutrients at this time. When we're talking humans, maybe it's a little easier when things are a little bit more controlled.
Humans are really hard.
They're so messy.
We had a great response from a veteran one morning when on the exercise we do blood draws, and they're supposed to arrive fasted. And I would say about every third time the veteran will sit down and talk to our staff about what a wonderful breakfast his wife made for him that morning.
All right. I've heard that same thing from my husband, who's a cardiologist who takes care of veterans. Raul.
Hi everyone, my name is Raul. I'm a first-year PhD student over at the School of Nursing, and I'm interested in nutrition and environmental exposures and their overall impact on cardiometabolic health. And yeah, I'm just happy to hear what everybody is doing and look for potential collaborators in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel?
Hi, I'm Daniel Haas. I'm a new assistant professor in ophthalmology. No relation to the avocado board, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm here, I'm like 3 months in, just getting started, and there are a lot of, so I'm in the same department as Jeff. There are a lot of ophthalmic disorders that seem to sort of relate to dietary input. So We talked about omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. They also sort of correspond really well to visual outcomes, among other things. And there are mutations in the enzymes that process these that can cause visual dysfunctions as well. I'm interested mostly in age-related macular degeneration, and because there's a lot of evidence that both diet matters for that disease, as well as there's kind of maybe a sort of plaque buildup in the eye that might prevent nutrients from actually getting in. And let's see, I also wanted to, so I do 13C isotopic tracing as well, but I do it in mice. And so one of the things I wanted to mention to everyone here is that, I'm kind of a believer in, using every bit of the experiment that you can. If I'm, doing a sort of basic science experiment looking at the contribution of glucose, fatty acids, or whatever to my tissue of interest, the retina, you might still be able to use the same animal, but some other tissue to look at your sort of tissue of interest. So I think it's important that we have these conversations and share resources when we can. So I'm happy to talk about that. And then one other thing is I'm trying to start kind of a seminar series. I'm going to just plug it here for anyone interested in mitochondria and metabolism. And so for sort of either collaborating over 13C tracing, or if you want to be a part of the seminar series or just listen in, I'm going to put my email in the chat and you can feel free to reach out. But yeah, thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Daniel. Those are some great ideas, especially sharing the animal model. Tracy is traveling, and she did put a description in the chat of what she's doing. So I encourage all of you to look at that. Sahara, you also put something in the chat, but do you want to expand? Zara, I guess, sorry.
I am sure. So my background is midwifery, and also I was working in public health department in Iran for 10 years, and I worked with all kinds of populations, and here with dementia people. So I'm interested to see how nutrition affects. I know the number one killer among pregnant women is cardiovascular disease and high blood pressure. So I was interested to see how nutrition is going to affect that and kind of can decrease the, the impact during the pregnancy. So yeah, and I have other ideas. So I just have to connect with some people to see if I can do different projects with them. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yoon?
Sorry, hi. I'm a rheumatologist. I'm primarily a clinician, but I'm trying to get more into research. And I'm working with Dr. Lim, who runs the Grady Lupus Clinic. And I don't know if y'all know lupus, but it's an autoimmune condition, probably more of a syndrome than a single disease because it has so many different presentations, and it primarily affects young women of reproductive age. So it's very cruel in how it can cause disfiguring skin manifestations. Just any organ system can be impacted. And I do think that there's this interest, definitely in the patient population, but in the community in general, about how can lifestyle factors affect autoimmune conditions. And because I work with this really, this cohort, clinical cohort at Grady, so we're serving primarily lower income, primarily Black, young women with a chronic autoimmune condition. And a big question is there any aspect of diet and lifestyle interventions that can improve symptoms, maybe modify outcomes? Even though this is a group of young women, they have higher like premature cardiovascular disease, and just very many complications of the disease. And the question they all want to know, well, what can I do to improve it besides taking immune suppressive medication? And we unfortunately there's very little research into that, and so I'm trying to get into that. And so I'm planning on setting up a lifestyle intervention and wellness type of clinic within Grady, focus on our lupus patients, but I want that to be an avenue for research so we can collect data on, and again, I agree with this idea that it has to be dietary patterns, not just single micronutrients or supplements, and seeing what actually affects the disease process. But alongside that, I need to sort of work on sort of the mechanistic aspects of it. So if we find out, Mediterranean diet or some, plant-based diet is more helpful, well, what are the actual changes that's happening at the cellular level, especially with the immune system cells, that is mediating this response? I'm interested in like mitochondria because these patients have chronic fatigue, and there's this idea that mitochondria distress might be contributing not just to fatigue, but also the DNA that's serving as an antigen that's triggering some of their lupus autoimmune response. I'm also interested in metabolomics. I think there's, looking at antioxidant and sort of the oxidative burden in these patients to see if we can modify that. So I'm really starting at the just like square one because I don't really have research experience. But I have an interest. I have a patient population that is very interested in this type of research. So I'm very interested in collaborating with someone to look into this.
Awesome. I'll tell you, most basic researchers are looking for clinical collaborators, so that's great. So hopefully you'll get some people interested.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Thank
it
you.
sounds like you have a lifetime of work and questions for you, because there are about a gajillion different nutrients that you could study. I would, I love everything that you just said, and I want to make a plug right now is, for lifestyle wellness programs, to, make sure you have registered dietitians involved when you're thinking about research projects, and like doing interventions, not, clearly not the cell. I mean, it's useful to talk to a dietitian when you're thinking about cell experiments and when you're trying to translate or eventually hope to translate into humans. But there's a lot of registered dietitians on this call, so I did want to make that plug.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Anna.
Hi, everyone. I am a second year PhD student at the Nutrition and Health Science PhD at Emory University. I have interest in cardiometabolic health and body composition. I am currently working with Dr. Jessica Alvarez. She is my mentor, and this was great.
Okay, great. Thank you. Samyukta.
Hey everyone, can you hear me? Sorry,
Yes.
I'm in my name is Samyukta and I work as the technical director for Doug Walker's lab at Emory. And our group, we're focused on developing mass spec methods for looking at PFAS and pesticides and other exogenous chemicals. By training, I'm an analytical chemist and I worked with metabolomics in cancer and newborn screening, but I'm fairly new to the nutrition side. So I'm just here to learn what everybody's doing, what are the potential collaborations, and also I'm fairly new in my career as a technical director, so I'm happy to learn about funding opportunities and what everybody is doing. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to just make sure everybody's monitoring the chat because there's a lot of information there from a few people who had to leave early. Swati.
Hello everyone. Sorry, I'll just put hello everyone. My name is Swati. What's happened with my camera? I'm putting it on. I don't know what's wrong. Anyway, it will come up. Hi, my name is Swati. I am a research scientist currently working in Emory, and my PI is Jessica. And lovely to hear from you, Jessica. Great slides as usual. And just to say that as working for Jessica, I am currently leading on the CF study side of things. However, in addition to that, I do have vested interest in learning about eating patterns and cardiometabolic cardiometabolic health. And currently, I am writing a proposal which involves, Jessica, what you mentioned, everything about looking into women and using the CGM and eating patterns, looking at it broadly. And just to add to the list of the food industries you mentioned, currently I am looking like this proposal to go through Almond Board of California. That's another funding food industry, and they did fund my doctorate study research and provided me almonds to research on that. So I am using them hopefully as a potential funder, but drafting that current proposal. So anyone in addition to Jessica who would be interested in, I'll be happy to collaborate. Anyone with kind of nutrition studies and eating patterns and cardiometabolic health. Thank you.
Thank you. Sonia.
Hi everyone, my name is Sonia Wimolasena. I'm an Associate Director of Research Projects at the Hope Clinic of the Emory Vaccine Center. So we're part of the Division of Infectious Diseases. I work with Dr. Nadine Rufael. We primarily do vaccine clinical trials. We do systems biology work looking at, we use vaccines as a probe to study how the immune system responds to vaccines. She's done some work looking at how antibiotics disrupt the gut microbiome and influence the immune response to vaccines. But I actually came over from the Nutrition Health Sciences PhD program. So I've been really excited about expanding our nutrition portfolio here at the Hope Clinic. We're actually currently doing a pilot nutrition study, which we developed with guidance from Jessica as well as Mike Woodworth, where we're looking at the role of ultra-processed diets on systemic inflammation and the gut microbiome. We're currently writing a clinical trial protocol to look at the role of GLP-1 agonists on systemic inflammation to see if use of them actually restores the inflammatory profile to those of individuals without obesity. So if that's something that people are interested in, we definitely value input and collaborators there. And we're hoping to move more into expanding our clinical trial portfolio related to nutrition science. So it's really great to learn what everyone else is working on, and we value new collaborators. So please feel free to reach out to me or Dr. Nadine Rufael. Thanks.
Thanks, Sonia. That's another great resource for everybody here. I'm just going to move right to Michael Woodworth, since you mentioned that you work with him.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is a great session. Great to hear all these cool ideas from all these great people. I'm Mike Woodworth. I'm an infectious disease doctor, and I do research that's mainly focused on the gut microbiome, and we run translational clinical trials using fecal microbiota transplantation, and mainly focused on how microbes compete in the gut and how that impacts health. But there's, a lot of reason to expect that diet is a primary driver of microbiome composition and function, as Jessica said. And there's even been some animal work that suggests that diet may be as effective, if not more effective, than fecal transplants. So increasingly recognize that important role of diet, and would like to do more in that area. We have a lot of metagenomic data sets and stool samples that have been banked, and would be open to collaborating with anybody interested in that. We also have stool donors that are longitudinally characterized for our FMT banks, who are healthy generally, and have been a source of healthy human microbiota for other collaborations in the past, if that's useful to anyone. And then I was on a recent call at the FDA where they were saying that there's growing interest in products that are generally recognized as safe, these GRAS products that are added to food as part of the MAHA type agendas. But there's not really a lot that's been done on them, because I guess they've been labeled as GRAS for a long time. But I'm sure many on this call would know more about that than I would, but would be interested in doing some human studies looking at those things as well.
Thanks, and another great resource that you mentioned. Melanie, thank you for some of your comments in the chat. Now it's your turn. Are you there, Melanie? You're muted if you are. We may have missed her. Shu? Shu Lu, are you here? You are also muted if you're speaking. Okay, and Ryan.
Hi, I'm sorry, I was actually entered the room late. So is this so sort of an introduction? Okay. So my name is Ryan Suk. I am a health economist, and I recently got interested in the nutritional information for abnormal cancer, so preventing the progression to invasive cancer. And as a health economist, I would be very interested to look at how these outcomes and the intervention, like efficiency of intervention, would be like. And yeah, I recently had an opportunity to collaborate with Jessica, so it's actually I'm very excited about the future collaborations and all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Melanie, I apologize. I've seen one of the first things you put in the chat is that you're not where you can unmute. So we appreciate that.
Brian, did you see the message from Dr. Bhargava in the chat? It looks like she's doing it looks like
She
nutrition.
wouldn't, Josh, she wouldn't see it because she came late, so it won't be there for her.
Oh no, I'm gonna copy it over for you again.
So Jean, I know you just joined, so you're probably a little bit disadvantaged. But what we're doing is just sharing what your research in nutrition is to see where there might be opportunities for collaboration.
Oh, wow. Well, I am just so excited. I mean, all I did is take a picture of all the names because of a group of all of just to see everybody who's interested in nutrition. So my interests are child nutrition, child obesity and chronic disease. And it really has kind of spanned the spectrum from epi to clinical trials and translational kind of community translation into the community. So it's with a focus, kind of historical focus on the role of sugars, but and increasingly an interest in early intervention for prevention. So I could say more, but I think that's probably summarizes.
All right, thank you.
Sorry to have missed the beginning. I had class, but maybe there'll be a recording. Is there a recording?
I believe it's, but yeah, I believe we're recording. And we have notes and we'll share email addresses at the end.
And can I say something just about the nutrition PhD program for people interested? You know, we are I co-direct with Dr. Mary Beth Weber, the Nutrition and Health Sciences PhD program, and we're housed in the School of Public Health, but it's an interdisciplinary, interdepartmental, inter-school program. And if you are doing work in the area of nutrition and you want doing research area in the area of nutrition, we want to know about you and we want you to know about us. And one of the best ways maybe to do that is to be it on our seminar listing. We have the PhD students do a weekly seminar, and you can hear what they're doing. And then we want to connect them to you if you want help with your research. They all have to do research rotations, get different experiences, work with different faculty. So if you are interested in working with any doctoral students, and they're brilliant, they're really great, have opportunities for them, please let me know and we'll get you connected. And if you'd be interested in being on our seminar list, let me know.
That's great. I think between seminars and databases and clinical samples, we have some really great opportunities here. Did I miss anybody? I think I got everybody, but all right. So I'm going to ask Jessica, what did you hear that's exciting to you and where you see some opportunities for this group or individuals in this group to collaborate?
Oh gosh, everything was exciting to me. I heard a lot of, I think as you mentioned earlier, there are a lot of big names on this call with great funding. And I think we could, number one, put together a strong team science P30 training type project. I know Jean was involved in a T32 for more diabetes based, but we really could start to think again about a nutrition obesity research center. You know, there's so many clinical folks involved. You know, we're not all doing obesity, which I think is great. I think having a more clinical focus that a lot of us have is a strength of all of our institutions of the Georgia CTSA. You know, so, you know, I heard cancer, I heard cystic fibrosis, we heard HIV. So I think that's a strength there. And then I heard everything translation. I heard from cells to humans, to community, to health economics. So that also very much excited me when I think, you know, as Kathy mentioned, I'm in the education portion of the Georgia CTSA, and that's what we teach, all of the different transition points. And I think we have that here. So those are the things that sort of struck me that make me
Thanks.
excited.
I'm going to open that question up to everyone. You know, what did you hear that you found exciting that you'd like to pursue? Or where you see areas for collaboration? And I'm going to start calling on people if somebody doesn't jump in.
I'm so glad I got called first.
Niall.
I love how you really pronounce my name right, Kathy. Yeah, I like, you know, I'm going to get back to this concept of nutrition as just part of the picture. And I was glad to hear several people mention that. The word lifestyles came up multiple times. And, you know, I'm reminded that my own primary care physician always talks about exercise and diet, not just diet. You know, I need to lose some weight, but it's not just diet, it's exercise and diet. So both food as medicine and exercise as medicine, I think, is a really good concept.
Thanks. Now I'm going to switch the question around a little bit and say, what did you not hear? Were there any areas of nutrition research that maybe are more new and we haven't gotten into yet here at our CTSA institutions?
Well, the toss-off answer for that anymore these days are two things, right? And they're two alphabet things, AI and MAHA, right? And I guess I think I would like to hear more about either of those, but mainly AI, and the role it might have in, you know, hypothesis generation, let's say.
Anybody have an answer that we heard AI and MAHA mentioned, both of them mentioned today. I agree we didn't get into it so much, but where are those opportunities? And are there people that we should be inviting into this conversation?
You know, I think, and I apologize, I think I probably get a lot of my terminology wrong, like with the metabolomics and machine learning, if that's AI, if it's not, I get all of those mixed up, but I do, you know, a lot of people mention metabolomics and these omics types research and the databases that are available. You know, Doug Walker and his team, Dean Jones and his team, I'm sure, you know, many others, Eric Ortlund and his team have lipidomics and all of these big omics-based databases that we can look into that oftentimes pick up these nutritional, you know, metabolites, NAD, even the micronutrients, the omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids are often picked up on all of these. So these are things that we can use to build hypotheses. And I think some of us have been doing that work for a while now, is trying to build hypotheses using these databases. It's so hard, it's endless, the amount of hypotheses that we can get from these omics type databases, whether that's AI or what you meant by AI.
Oh, I think that the beauty of you throwing around these initials is that you can pretend like you know, but
just throw machine learning and everything and it sounds good.
I'll do a plug for the AI. So we have a new data science center at the School of Nursing, and there are several of our new faculty. We have engineers and the machine learning and the AI people working on several different things. And like I had mentioned in my intro, we're trying to use AI as kind of a mediator, and you know, these lifestyle interventions that we design, they're great and they work, but they're really burdensome on the investigators, and they're expensive if you want to do one-on-one. If you listen to the, you know, US task force on lifestyle interventions, you have to have 20 touch points, and that's really expensive to do. So we're trying to use AI to kind of take over some of that. You know, obviously the expertise needs to still be there, but can AI, you know, answer questions? You know, we're trying to build a conversational AI bot. And there's several different people at the School of Nursing working on this. I know I talked with several recently trying to find the right collaborator for myself. And we have people that are looking at cancer symptomology and like what to do. This isn't really nutrition related, but there are some answers that the AI bot gives that are around lifestyle to try to alleviate some symptoms like from chemo and radiation. So we have different people working. Terry Hartman's not on this call, but she does a lot of nutritional epidemiology in Rollins with cancer. So there we have a partnership with School of Nursing and Rollins there. So I think AI, obviously it's new and we're not really sure what it does. Some people are kind of skeptical as whether they want to dive into AI. But I think AI in healthcare is coming, whether we like it or not. And, you know, so I'm trying to kind of insert myself in there and use it effectively, but also safely.
Very important. And I think it is a big mystery to a lot of us. The whole AI, and the capabilities of AI that we don't really even fully appreciate.
I have a fully like irrational fear of robots. I've watched way too many Terminator movies, but I'm trying to open my mind as to the possibilities without, you know, anybody not human taking over the world. That's kind of where I am.
Kathy, I would just say that, you know, I think understanding what kind of things can be done, you know, I mean, how it works as people start to work on AI kinds of projects, because of course there's the analysis side, but there's also a lot of need for better assessment. You know, people don't assess diet because it's too hard, and then the data is got so many limitations. So really, how can we use AI to better collect dietary data and maybe get more people collecting it? Because we have a lot of really great studies going on that don't collect dietary data. And that's a real limitation. So I know there's some using in the School of Nursing, working on using photos, lots of people working on looking at how to use photos. And so we need to get testing these, and we need to accelerate that if there's really that looks promising, because there's a lot of opportunity for that kind of technology. Yeah.
I'll tell you, how to collect diet information is the absolute hardest thing. People ask me all the time, and I'm like, well, we have these 3 methods. You're not going to like what I have to say, but it's all we have. And it is
yeah,
the best we have right now. And they're like, what? No, can't you just take a picture? I'm like, no, it's not there yet. We're working on it.
Or you could take a picture to get one meal, but what does that represent?
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard.
Yeah.
Want to make sure everybody noticed there's another message from Melanie in the chat. Other thoughts? Any other thoughts about nutrition and potential collaborations?
Sorry, Kathy, so many questions here come from me, but I guess I wonder, from being, you know, with the nutrition program that we have, if there would be useful to people to have kind of a group that's available as a resource for studies that are looking at adding a nutrition component, that we could that we could find people that are well matched to help kind of guide what you might do, what you want to collect, what things you want to avoid with the best methods that we have. It seems kind of like a gap. We have a lot of these cores that kind of are a good resource for us in data collection and analysis, but we don't have a nutrition core, and it feels like nutrition is core to so many studies. So I'm wondering if we need to do something more formal as far as creating a resource that's available for people, so that the nutrition part doesn't get mixed, and whatever nutrition work is done with the best methods possible.
That's a really interesting idea. So you kind of lead me right to the last part of these blue sky groups, which is how to continue the conversation. If you want to continue the conversation, did you hear something today that excited you, you'd like to continue? And blue sky groups have sort of different outcomes. We have had some that will go to phase 2, where people actually present their data, looking for, just because they found people who are potentially interested in collaboration. We've had groups that want to make a listserv so they can keep in touch. I'll just tell you, those don't work very well because people don't use them. We can share email addresses and transcripts from today, so you can go back and seek out someone who you've heard about. I really like this idea of a core. It would be an unofficial core, but it would be a resource group for people who want to study nutrition. And if you wanted to be involved in that, we could work on setting something like that up. Sometimes it's a seminar series, but we heard about 2 seminar series today that are already going that you might want to sign up for. Any other ideas that you have, or did any of that sound interesting to you?
I love the idea of having a core that could be built into something more, a research information core, but, maybe working on trying to build that out, but also just really emphasizing some of the things that Nael has been mentioning, is not, and Jen Frediani too, is not forgetting the exercise component of it. So really thinking more lifestyles, or if that's a separate blue sky group, then I'm sure tons of people on this call should be on that group.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a lifestyles resource group, because
our P30 Center has that too, the CFP30 Center, but it's really specific. So if we could expand that, what we've created, in one pediatric center to more broad, Georgia CTSA, I think that would be incredible, because I think the resources also at UGA and Morehouse School of Medicine, we don't use them enough for nutrition, and everything is so siloed. So,
and this is actually an effort that would be worthy of the mini grant that Lauren just put in the chat to remind you about those, pulling that together. So if we are to do that, create some sort of research resource, which would invariably lead to collaborations for those who are involved in that, I would think. We do need somebody who's willing to lead that effort.
I would.
Jean, okay, great. So
I can help you, Jean.
Excellent. I was going to volunteer you, but I
wouldn't leave you hanging.
I feel like there needs to be a team.
All right, Jean and Jessica and Jennifer, if your name begins with a J, you're automatic. So Lauren and I will talk this over and figure out how we can help facilitate, and then we'll get in touch with Jean and Jessica and Jennifer and anyone else who's interested in sort of spearheading that. All right. We'll probably end there.